On this week's episode, just what will the success of Spider-Man, what will, just what will the success of Spider-Man, just what will the success of Spider-Man do, do for the, just what will the success of Spider-Man do for the future of the Spider-Verse? Different ways to cook your turkey this holiday, and what will a return of an iconic character uh, and will a return of an iconic And will a return of an iconic character close out Disney's year on a high note? We may not be we may not be Mary Poppins, y'all, as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. It's typed out better than actually just trying to read it, but oh well. Better luck next time. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you listening to all of our great programs. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He has survived and made it back after a long trek back to Orange County. He has survived the Retro City Games holiday game night, but just barely. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. Good to see you still have a pulse, my friend. I was kind of thinking there was some gray area and there was some shaky times there, but I'm glad you pulled out and made it through.
Yeah, man, it was fun. It was a good weekend. It was definitely saw some things we can improve for next time, but yeah, I think it was a pretty good thing so far.
It was indeed. It was a lot of fun. I want to thank, first off, everyone involved with Humanica Media, all the guys from Topic Ocalypse, Hyperschmidt, Trudai, Vedius, Miracle Fruit Oil with their awesome Vitabrace gaming bracelets that everybody seemed to go gaga over when they were there. Also, the guys from Game Source who are handling the Fortnite tournament, Mario Party Wars, Go Brothers Gaming, and of course, our hosts at Retro City Games. Cannot thank Doug, Nicole, Antonio, Josh, and the entire crew there. Just so awesome to have each and every one of you play such an integral part into a awesome holiday charity event where we raised a lot of money. We also raised we also got a lot of new toy donations and a lot of canned food donations, and those will go out to the charities at 3 Square, Make-A-Wish Southern Nevada, and the UMC Children's Hospital. Just cannot thank enough for everyone who donated, everyone who participated, and everyone who had a great time there at the Retro City Games holiday game night. Just truly cannot thank you enough. And you know what? Everybody seemed to like it so much, we may just be doing it again in the future. But it is going to be a great show we've got for you today. We've got Ben Arnault from the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast. He is back again with one last thing before the end of the year when it comes to really nice cooking, a really nice cooking tip. This time for your turkey. Last year he had a great grilling tip for your turkey. This year with the holidays coming around and turkey still on the mind of a lot of people, he gives a great tip on how to cook a turkey this holiday season. Plus, we also have as well Mike Favor from the ESO Network and his a whole line of great shows, not only that he produces and that he's a part of, but all the great shows, including ours that's on the network as well. He is going to be talking about his top five in pop culture in 2019. His top five in pop culture in 2018. He's going to be shouting out his list of all the great things and not so great things that came up to him that really stuck out in his mind for 2018 in our continuing series. Just cannot thank him enough for stopping by and shouting out that list to us. He's coming up here in a little bit as well. And then we're also going to be talking about on the back end, is Disney's year going to be ending up on a high note with Mary Poppins Returns? We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more on today's show. But first, my friend, it was a great weekend at the box office for Sony because it is going to be a big surprise hit when it comes to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. 35 million here at the $35 million made domestically at the box office, even a lot more when it comes to worldwide take. Although it didn't do what Aquaman did worldwide, it's still, for a superhero movie, an animated movie, a movie that at maybe 3-4 months ago, a lot of people didn't expect to do it so well. Hey, it really made a lot of money. And it's, first off, I'll tell you what, and it leads into what I'm talking about here when it comes to Sony. Sony has announced that there's going to be not only a sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Also, you guys, they've also talked about spin-offs for some of the characters within the movie. Your thoughts on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse now that it's not only a critical but also a commercial hit, and where is that going to lead into when it comes to the actual, whole Spider-Verse as well? Do you think it's going to go and merge somewhat into what was being talked about in the Spider-Man universe, maybe the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or do you think they should still continuously stay away from that and create their own Spider-Verse as well?
I don't think they can merge because that's an animated flick in the Marvel MCU's live action. But it's cool that it's doing well. I would definitely like to see more animated Spider-Man films. It just depends on where they go with it. If they want to do, there are a lot of great stories that can be covered that can probably be done a lot easier than a live action version. Everyone wants to see like a Sinister Six and kind of explore, and it has the ability to explore things too that like the video game has dived into, like with the Kingpin and Black Cat and things like that. So they definitely have a lot of places they can go, a lot of room to a lot of ground they can cover. But I don't see it tying into the MCU at all. I know they have their own plans as far as Miles Morales is concerned, and eventually introducing him into the fold. And 35 million, it's a pretty good number, but you look at it, the Grinch has been out for what, 4 or 5 weeks, and it pulled in 11 million. So I'd just be curious to see what it's going to do in the following weeks and if it's going to be able to maintain those numbers.
No, that's a good opinion right there, because you're right. The Grinch has had an extremely long lifespan. The legs are long on that movie. It has now actually surpassed Wreck-It Ralph on the list, because Wreck-It Ralph, the previous #1 for the past 3 weeks, that dropped to #4, while The Grinch, which was hovering around in the top 5, actually moved up ahead of Wreck-It Ralph and actually during the week it still seems to gain that #1 slot from time to time as well. So those are good signs for The Grinch and everybody at Universal that was a part of it, and Illumination. But I still think it's a great sign for Sony and Into the Spider-Verse, because the fact is that no one expected this movie to do as well as it did. It was almost kind of like an afterthought at first. When we talked about it, even way back in September, we were almost speaking of it as an afterthought as far as the entire list. We didn't think it would stand much of a chance. It would be in and out of theaters really quickly, and it would probably find if it found any success, it would find it in a home video format. But I'm so glad that it actually has surpassed everyone's expectations, not only from a commercial but a critical standpoint. And I actually am enjoying the fact that not only is it going to be a sequel that's been talked about, but also a spin-off of some of those characters. I hope that they don't do that in a movie format for some of those spin-off characters, because I don't see the same kind of returns for those spin-off characters in a movie format, but maybe some type of home video streaming or television format for those spin-off characters. That I think would be a great idea, to go ahead and be able to put them on that type of platform so that they can have their own shows and still be able to prosper and still be able to go ahead and have those characters still be an integral part of the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, and like I said, there's a lot of room to grow, a lot of things they can do in the cartoon version that they can't do in the MCU. Like they can make it dark. They can have Morbius come on. There's all kinds of things they can do. That they did on the '90s cartoon, and that'd be cool to see. But again, it depends on are there Spider-Verse characters going to be involved, or are they going to just go to Miles Morales? In which case, I think there's going to be some issues with Marvel because Marvel wants to use him eventually. It's cool that this movie's so successful, but I want to know how they're going to navigate the character usage and all that stuff if they were to keep building on this.
On the level of shocked from 1 to 10, how shocked are you that we're actually talking about Spider-Man properties in an off year for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, still accumulating over $1 billion, which it is on target to do as far as the properties, meaning Venom and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse combined will do over $1 billion most likely by the end of 2018.
It just goes to show there's a lot of love for the character. Like he is the most relatable Marvel superhero out there, and I get why people love him. That's why I loved him growing up. That's why people still read his comic books and all the different iterations that are out there. And it doesn't surprise me at all. And especially since everyone's waiting to see what happens to him in Infinity War. There's a lot going on for this character, and he's going to continue to grow. I don't think that this is going to be. I think next year is going to be a pretty strong year for him as well. So, more power to him. And everyone does like Spider-Man films. Just Sony doesn't have the best reputation with the character, and I think people are getting kind of fatigued of him for a while. But with Tom Holland and Marvel, I think that things are starting to turn around for him on the big screen.
Well, it also helps when you have a huge surprise hit in Venom, which actually produced like the AAA box office hit Sony was hoping for, that I didn't think, and many others didn't think, was going to get to that level of excitement and that level of box office success. Thank you, China, for that one when it comes to Venom, because it has been a humongous hit in China, even more so, much more so than it was in the United States. So it's good to see Sony actually thriving with $1 billion property in the Spider-Man, or in their own Spider-Verse when it comes to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Venom combined, doing very well at the box office in 2018 and making it seem like there are other things within the Spider-Verse outside of Tom Holland's Spider-Man that they can go ahead and count on for great things in the future. When it comes to other things in the future, when it comes to cinema, it was kind of disappointing for anyone that was rooting for Mortal Engines, the Peter Jackson produced movie fantasy a neo-apocalyptic as far movie that unfortunately fell flat with consumers and audiences out there, not even garnering $8 million domestically here at the box office, and worldwide it still hasn't reached $50 million yet. I'll tell you, man, this isn't a good sign for Peter Jackson. His cachet when it comes to outside of Lord of the Rings is just not that good. His track record is just not that good. And if it doesn't have Lord of the Rings in front of it, it's really kind of a bummer, because yes, the Hobbit movies did very well. They both, all three of them, garnered right at or near $1 billion each. My question to you is, Peter Jackson going forward, anything attached to his name, whether he's in a producer role or he's in a director role, do you see him not achieving any level of a verifiable success if he's not doing something within the Lord of the Rings realm?
Sadly, I don't see him doing that well outside of Lord of the Rings, and it's not because it's the movies that he's making are necessarily bad. I think it's just because people aren't as open to new franchises like that. If it was a Netflix series, that'd be a whole different story. I'm sure people would be watching the crap out of it. But with movies, not, and I understand now why Disney doesn't want to do a lot of original content anymore, is because people don't want to go see it. There's not a lot of interest in it. So if he keeps returning to something like Lord of the Rings, of course he'll make money. But the moment you want to venture outside of something and create something new, bring a new movie experience, it's not going to do that well. And that's sad, but it's just the way it is, I guess. And will we ever reach a time when people are willing to give new movies, new franchises a chance? Who knows? But I hope this doesn't stop filmmakers from trying.
I hope it does. I hope it doesn't either. I hope it does. I hope it doesn't either. I hope it signifies, though, that there needs to be some type of responsible spending when it comes to these types of movies that don't have that kind of track record other properties have. I hope that these producers and directors will still try to go ahead and make these type of fantasy movies, sci-fi movies, whatever type of movies that will try to capture an audience. But I just don't want to see them go and say, hey, look, I'm going to throw 150 million dollars at you, and I know it's going to stick, and it doesn't stick with audiences. So maybe a less maybe a more financially sound venture on its original platform or its original try for a movie like Mortal Engines or something within that realm, maybe in the offering where it's a lower risk, higher reward type scenario, as opposed to just throwing a whole bunch of cash out there and just, hey, attaching Peter Jackson's name to it and saying, look, Lord of the Rings producer involved, it's going to make a ton of money. End of story. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case for Mortal Engines. It looks like it's going to be a bomb of massive proportions, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any type of extenuating story onto it unless it appears on some sort of format like a streaming or television service down the road. One last thing before we head on out, as far as our coverage of the box office this weekend, give some props to Clint Eastwood, my friend. The Mule garnering $17 million at the box office this weekend domestically. And I'll tell you what, for 88 years old, man, to still be to still be a major part, to still be a major force in the uh, in the movie industry, doing a great job directing and also acting within this movie. I'll tell you what, got to give props to Clint Eastwood. Yes, his last directorial directorial film didn't do so hot, but at least this time around, it looks like this one may be something that a lot of older adults may want to go see, and wherever they're going to go ahead and catch it and be able to take a look at Clint Eastwood, because you know what, at 88 years old, he's not going to be doing this much longer.
Yeah, he's a good filmmaker. He makes gritty films, and there seems to still be a market for that. But I look back at movies like Mystic River and Flags of Our Fathers and things like that. Like he does not make bad movies. It's just whether or not people are willing to go see them. And luckily for him, he's already has his reputation established, so he can make something. And like, this movie looks interesting. I do want to go see it, but he does have the ability to try new things, and he's not expected to make billions of dollars back on it, so he has more freedom to kind of do what he wants. And more often than not, his films end up being really good and being nominated for things, so that's cool. But yeah, no, it looks like it's an interesting premise, interesting movie. I've been seeing some of the trailers and the posters and all that stuff, and I do want to watch it, but I probably will. It'll probably be something I Redbox or on demand.
Well, the 1517 to Paris, I think that was a misstep for him because of the fact he actually used the real individuals involved that stopped the terrorist on that train. I think that was kind of a misstep that he didn't actually have actors represented in those roles. I think that's probably what took a lot of people out. Ironically, out of the film, that they used the actual real individuals involved because they didn't have the acting chops, even though it was actually their story that they were telling. So that's kind of amusing in and of itself. But yeah, his last one didn't fare so well. But this one debuting at number 2 at the box office domestically looks like it's going to have a nice little run of its own. Comparable, is it going to be comparable to his previous successes recently, like American Sniper and Sully? No, not quite, but it still might turn a nice little it might turn a nice, tidy little profit. And at 88 years old, Clint Eastwood is not going to be able to do this much longer. So, anyone out there who is a Clint Eastwood fan that wants to see some of his work before he heads on out, you know what? And I'm not talking about heading into, and whatever. I'm just talking about retiring and whatnot, because he may retire. You never know at 88 years old. But before he goes ahead and doesn't make any more films, it's nice to go ahead and check out to see that he's still doing some stuff that's contributing to audiences out there. And The Mule is performing quite nicely at the box office with a #2 debut at the box office. What are your thoughts out there on the box office this weekend? Were you glad that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was a big hit at the box office? Do you think there's a long success story there? And do you think that it's going to be ending up with a Spider-Verse attached to it with side stories, sequels that are continuously going to be supported by consumers out there? What are your thoughts on Mortal Engines? Were you sad to see it perform so poorly? And are you sad that there's going to be no continuation of whatever story that they were trying to tell in a 2, 3, 4, 5 movie, what have you, 5 movie set, what have you? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also share your thoughts on Clint Eastwood, 88 years old and still making and still bringing them in with The Mule. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, coming up next, we've got Ben Arnault from the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast. He's going to share his thoughts on a great turkey cooking idea that you got to hear coming up after the break. But first, and we also got later in the program, Mike Faber from the ESO podcast. Mike Faber from esopodcast.com, and also as well our thoughts on Mary Poppins Returns as she returns y'all to the theaters. But first, it's our good friends Hyperschmidt and Trudie. They appeared together at Retro City Games Holiday Game Night. Cannot thank them enough for coming up from California to perform at our great event, our great charity event. This is Hyperschmidt. And this is a song that both Hyperschmidt and Trudie played live at our Retro City Games Retro City Games Holiday Game Night event. This is About to Win, and this is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're about to close out the show. This is a Pop Culture Cosmos. Want to thank Ben Arnault from the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast. Also as well, Mike Faber from ESOnetwork.com. If you want to check out a listing of where we're at anywhere in the world that we're being played, because we're being played on radio stations all around the world, 7 days a week, check out our listings on our Facebook page, Pop Culture Cosmos, which has listings of many of the over 30 different podcast networks that we're on as well. My friend, you've got a great thing going on with Humanica Media. Humanica Media was up in Nevada with us here in Las Vegas and Henderson at the Retro City Games Holiday Game Night in strong, in mass, along with Topicocalypse and all the Topicocalypse, Game Source, and all the other great entities that were there. Share us your thoughts, my friend. What's going on with your great experience known as Humanica Media?
We got a new Topicocalypse coming out this week. You can check out footage of the show from this weekend on our Facebook page. And that's it for now, because I know we're not being played on the Podcast Radio Network right now. So just follow us on Facebook and you'll be able to keep up with everything.
Absolutely, because there's a lot of great live streaming that your guys did with Topicocalypse, also Game Source as well, on the Retro City Games Facebook page. Plus, if you take a look, you'll see on Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Retro City Games, you'll see great performances by Vedius, Hyperschmidt, and Trudie as well. So cannot thank them all enough for being a part of it. It was a great day. Also want to thank Mario Party Wars and Go Brothers Gaming for their for their assistance with the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Tournament. That was a lot of fun, very intense. And of course, everyone at Retro City Games. My friend, before we head on out, we got to talk about Mary Poppins, y'all. And I know I keep dropping that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 reference there. For you and I, that was probably the only good reference in that movie because it just was kind of a disappointment to us, sorry to say. But your thoughts on Mary Poppins Returns, and do you think the movie is going to perform well enough to have Disney close out on a strong note? Disney, who had a lot of major hits, had some misses, but for the most part, really had a successful, closing in on $8 billion year at the box office.
I don't think, I'm glad they made the movie, but I don't see it doing crazy numbers. I don't think that it has a big enough fan base still around to appreciate it. Kids aren't really into that kind of thing anymore, and it's a sequel to a movie that's far too old. You know, for us, it's like Blade Runner, but with Disney, right? Because the first one was far too old, and a lot of people didn't go back and watch it. It's going to be the same thing with this movie. So, I like the idea of it. I know some musical fans are looking forward to it, but I just don't see it doing very well. What do you think, though?
I see it doing okay, but I don't see it doing strong numbers. I don't see it doing very strong numbers. I think it'll get maybe a little bit above what Christopher Robin and A Wrinkle in Time did, which is right around the $100 million mark domestically. I think it will do a little bit more than that, maybe 150. The only reason why I say it won't do much more than that domestically is because of the fact that Aquaman hits this weekend, and that's going to take a great share of the numbers because even though it's been all over the place critically, a lot of people are very interested in it because it looks like both you and I are saying, it's going to be a lot of fun, that movie, and that will preview coming up here at the end of the week on our PCC Multiverse show. But for now, Mary Poppins Returns comes out a little bit earlier. It's getting a head start, but I still think it's going to be something that is going to do okay. It's going to do pretty good, but not going to be that slam dunk hit that it's not going to be that slam dunk hit that I thought that Disney thought I think Disney thought it would be some months ago when they first did that debut trailer and whatnot. I think it's going to do okay worldwide. I think maybe 300-400 worldwide. I think it's going to take a nice little chunk of change, but I do not think it's going to garner huge numbers. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I think it's going to be, like you said, something that's going to be in and out of the theaters pretty quickly because it's just going to garner its small niche out there, $100-150 million, somewhat nostalgic. So, like you said, it's not going to reach a younger audience that much unless they're into Lin-Manuel Miranda, because of his fame from Hamilton. That could be the secret weapon of this movie that we're not counting on being at a hit.
Yeah. Sorry. Hey, who are you talking about?
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I'm sorry, man. You've lost me. You're gonna have to edit this out. What are we? Lin who? What movie are we talking about still?
Mary Poppins Returns. Lin-Manuel Miranda, the guy from Hamilton, the guy who created Hamilton, the musical.
Okay, yeah, I never saw the musical, so I'm not really hip on who that guy is. But yeah,
okay. He's a creative of Hamilton, which has been a humongous hit on Broadway, and a lot of people around the world cannot wait to see the renditions coming there. It's garnered a large younger audience. It's skewed a lot younger. It's skewing the millennials. How about that?
Well, I know they kind of turned it into like hip hop tracks and stuff, right? Some of these musicals, yeah. So I mean, but honestly, man, my honest opinion, I don't think it's gonna do well because I think the movie is far too old to pull new fans in. And like, if I were a kid coming up in high school and someone's like Mary Poppins, I wouldn't know what that is. And if someone showed me a clip of the old Mary Poppins, I would never go back and watch that.
Well, the only thing I ask you then is this: is that going to be the case when Dumbo, the Jungle Book, Dumbo, the Lion King, and others follow suit? Because I know with The Lion King, a lot of people are interested on that because over 200 million watched it within the first 24 hours as far as the initial trailer is concerned. Do you think that's going to be the same thing for Dumbo and some of the other reboots that they have imagined for a live action format?
I don't think so because those aren't sequels. You don't have to go back and watch anything to understand them because you're getting what you're getting from the old films, but you're just getting it in an updated version. Whereas this is a continuation.
And in that sense, you're right. It is a continuation. It's not using, unfortunately, Julie Andrews, who played the original role back in the day, uh, but still, it's going to be a movie that I think is going to do modestly well. I still think, like I said, it's going to be something that it's going to have a niche and it's going to connect with some audiences just because it is Mary Poppins. Will the movie starring Emily Blunt and Lin-Manuel Miranda reach a larger audience and achieve that massive success to close out the year for Disney on a high note? I don't think it's going to reach that high of a note for Disney. I think it's still going to be something that does okay, does pretty good, but worldwide is not going to reach that magical note that I think Disney is hoping for. But still, don't feel bad for Disney. Like I said, Disney, I think over $8 billion this year at the box office. I think they're going to be doing okay. And for them, it was an outstanding year overall.
Yeah, I don't see Disney having many. They can fail probably a couple times in a year and still do okay, depending on what they put out. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe Mary Poppins 2 will be popular because people do enjoy the musicals. But yeah, man, I'm not seeing it do great things. But I think Disney's still going to be okay.
Disney will be doing okay for some time to come. I think, like I said, if with so much that they're doing worldwide, grossing this year, plus their next year looks even better with so many movies on the way, such as the Avengers 4, Captain Marvel, Dumbo, The Lion King, Star Wars Episode 9, so many other movies that they have in the queue. Don't feel bad for Disney if Mary Poppins Returns doesn't reach that magical height of some of the other films that they're expecting it to. It still will be a great year for Disney, even if Mary Poppins Returns doesn't return on a high note. What are your thoughts out there on Mary Poppins Returns? Are you excited? Are you excited to go ahead and check the movie out and relive that world of Mary Poppins, even if the actors are new for the most part that are in it? Are you excited to go ahead and check that movie out, even with new actors in the role in those iconic roles that are part of that Mary Poppins universe? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also, as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, my friend, you made it to the finish line for another week of the Pop Culture Cosmos after a long drive, both to and from Las Vegas, and a great all-day event at the Retro City Games Holiday Game Night. What do you say, my friend? What do you say?
Say I'm ready for bed, man. Ready to sleep. But no, it was fun, man. I look forward to doing the next one whenever it comes around. And anyone who showed up or watched the streams, thank you. We appreciate it. And don't forget to check out Miracle Fruit Oil. They got some good stuff going on.
And thank you so much, special shout out as well to Rob McCallum Films, who provided codes and DVDs, Miracle Fruit Oil, which provided gaming bracelets, and to all of our friends at Game Source, Humanica Media, Topicocalypse, Go Brothers Gaming, Game Source, Mario Party Wars, and of course, our great friends at Retro City Games, hoping that these charities that will benefit from our actions this weekend will do so. And of course, going forward for all the people out there that it helps, Truly want to thank all the people that were involved in helping out, and truly want to thank everybody for showing up and being a part of such a great event. For Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the pop culture cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.